Okay, so we're with Michael Gove, the MP for Surrey Heath and the Secretary of State for Schools and Education at the Surrey Heath Business Breakfast. Now, Michael, we've got a couple of questions for you. In fact, we had a fantastic presentation from the British Army this morning. Now, in Deepcut, we have a particular problem with transport for school provision, in particular about the Grove School bus. Could I ask you, what are you doing to help the families, particularly the military families who are really struggling at the moment to get to the Grove School? Could you advise residents what exactly it is that you're doing to help those families?
Well, I've been talking to Surrey County Council because, as we all know, it's the county that's responsible both for support for transport and for schools. And to my mind, there's nothing more important than making sure that children are safe in school or on their way to school. And there's no better way of making sure that children from Deepcut who are on their way to the Grove Primary are safe than guaranteeing effective bus transport. Ultimately, it's a decision for Peter Martin and for the guys at Surrey County Council. But I talk to Peter all the time, and actually later today I'm going to a meeting of Surrey Heath heads to talk to them to see how they feel the situation is going. I talked to Peter a couple of weeks ago and stressed to him how important this was, but one of the things I have to be careful of is that Peter will have tough words with me sometimes, and I'll have tough words with him. But there are some decisions that are ultimately my responsibility and some decisions that are his. So I will carry on lobbying and fighting, but all of us, I think, will be in a stronger position if we make sure that Peter knows just how strongly we feel.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you. Now, while we're on the subject of Deepcut, if you remember our public meeting that we had in Deepcut, you mentioned that the MOD are going to get a substantial amount of money for the sale of the Princess Royal Barracks, and that local residents shouldn't be left to pick up the pieces, particularly in respect of lack of infrastructure. So could you advise residents what exactly you're doing to represent them, particularly with the MOD, to make sure that they get the best possible deal for the future of Deepcut and the borough?
Well, there's a lot of uncertainty still over the future of Deepcut, which is worrying. And there have even been some questions in the last few months about whether or not the Army are planning to move. All the conversations that I've had in government underline that the plans are still going ahead on the basis that the Army will move. And I've always said that if the Army moves, and I really don't want it to, then what we need to make sure is that the community is represented. So I've said to Ministry of Defence civil servants and to Ministry of Defence ministers that they have to leave a legacy which makes us proud of the fact that the Army was based here. And that means that any houses that we build have to be properly built, architecturally distinguished, add to the quality of life of this area. It also means that what we can't have is any cost cutting when it comes to making sure that the infrastructure is there. We need to make sure that there are school places, we need to make sure that there are attractive places to shop and particularly for children to play, and we also need to make sure that there are good transport links. As we all know, there are critical bottlenecks in Surrey Heath, like the A322 junction with the M3, but also Deepcut Bridge Road itself has particular problems. I don't think that the Army or anyone else can simply dump a load of houses and then walk away from their infrastructure responsibilities. And I've been clear that if there's any development there, it has to be sustainable.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. Now, we've had a question on Twitter this morning from Tamin Sol, who's asked me to ask you, I'll just read out the tweet, ask him how he is going to improve the performance of schools in Surrey Heath. Lots have reduced to satisfactory by Ofsted last year.
Yeah. Well, we've got one or two big problems in Surrey Heath with education. There are one or two schools, Watchett's Primary and King's International, that have not been performing as well as they should have done. But we've also got some very good schools as well. Tomlinscott's outstanding, and so are Gordon's and Collingwood. So what I've been trying to do is to get the strong to help the weak. We all know that there was an understandable concern about Tomlinscott taking over King's, quite right too. I'm glad that that plan has been dropped, and I'm glad that King's is going to stay as an independent school instead of being merged. But we've got to make sure that King's is supported by outstanding heads. So that means that some of the staff at Tomlinscott may continue to help in the short term. In the longer term, we need to have, I think, a proper sponsor for that school as an academy, whether that's a local school or an outside organisation. That's very much for the local community to decide, not me, but we do need that support. And in the same way, Collingwood is already helping other schools, including the feeder primaries and and the audit team to do a better job, and we need better integration between primary and secondary. And again, later today I'm going to talk to Surrey Heath head teachers, both secondary and primary, about how we can foster that better integration. Final thing is, we need to make sure that we get really good teachers in Surrey Heath. The cost of living is high, there's a lot of uncertainty over the future of teachers' pensions. I've got to make sure that we get a good deal for all teachers so that people feel that they can pursue the profession and continue to live and work in an area like ours.
Okay, now you mentioned the academies for Kings. There does seem to be a fair bit of momentum for that
Yes.
for that possibility. So you're saying you would fully support that?
I would absolutely fully support it. The key question is, who should be the sponsor? Now, I have to be careful because I can't tell Surrey County Council exactly what to do, particularly in a constituency where if I'm seen to be wielding a heavy stick, then people might say, hey, he's using his position to benefit himself. That's a bit wrong. But what I can do, and what I have done, and what I will continue to do, is to say to Surrey County Council, look, sponsors for academies have worked elsewhere, and sponsors can be charities with a track record of educational excellence, or they can be high-performing schools, whether they're fee-paying or whether they're state schools, that take another school under their wing. They don't take it over, they don't subsume its identity, but they sprinkle some of the magic dust that they've used themselves to improve performance for their own children. And I want to make sure that Surrey County Council explore all those options and get the right sort of sponsor and support for Kings.
Excellent, thank you. And finally, is there anything else going on locally that you'd like to speak to the residents about?
Well, the one thing I would say is that I know that these are really tough times economically for people. I know in particular that energy prices are rising and that people's take-home pay is being squeezed. So I think it's just important that all of us appreciate that the economic difficulties, the cost of living problems that we face are not going to last forever. These are tough times. We've got to pay off the debts that we inherited from the last government, but we've got lots to boast about in Surrey Heath, and in particular, industries here are proving resilient. And for people who are looking for work, I think that we'll be able to see more opportunities in the future. And for people who are in work and who are suffering, I would say, bear with us. Yes, it's painful. I'm sorry that the mess that we inherited is taking so long to clear up, but things will be better.
And also, finally, your Twitter account.
Oh, yes.
Because there's a Michael Gove Twitter account, and I asked you about that and why you don't update it, but apparently that's not your account. Can you clarify what's going on there?
I don't have a Twitter account. There is a Department for Education Twitter account that tells you what's happening at the Ministry. There's a Conservative Education Twitter account that tells you what the Conservative Party thinks about education, but I don't write either of them. If there's anyone calling themselves Michael, Mickey, whatever, Gove out there, it's not me. And so, whether or not I should tweet, I don't know, maybe I should. But at the moment, I don't. So if you're reading anything which is attributed to me, it's an imposter.
Okay, well, I can confirm from Surrey Heath residents, we would like to see you tweeting.
Well, in that case, I'll go back to the office and see if I can set up an account to get myself on TweetDeck in due course. I suspect it'll be a few weeks before I can.
Brilliant, that's brilliant. Thank you for your time, Michael. Much appreciated. Thank you.